Hey, how you doing? I was just thinking, what we think and believe is often cultural and or societal dogma or mainstream media-induced hypnosis through relentless propaganda and intentionally sent and emitted ELF waves. ELF waves, which stands for extra low frequency. These waves affects our mental and our emotional state and clear perception. And I would like to ask you to research that. ELF waves is something that is emitted by different technological devices like our televisions. This is a fact. And that's what we're going to talk about today here on the Topkats Rebel Connection. The USA, 31 hard facts that you should know. Edutainment wrapped in eclectic music. Okay, the first thing that I want to share here on this Topkats Rebel Connection broadcast is that in our country there are many things that are believed by the majority that aren't actually the way things actually work, or is not actually the real definition of how things are defined. For example, when we're talking about the law has different meanings for words like person, citizen, people, nation, crime, charge, right, statute, preferred, prefer, constitutor, creditor, debtor, debit, discharge, payment, law, and United States. United States doesn't mean what we think it does because we never were taught the legal definition of the word or the aforementioned words. Society is governed by law, and there are legal definitions for the words that govern society. And one of the most disgusting things that I find with my research into this information that I'm going to share with you about the 31 hard facts that you should know, one of the most disgusting things that I had to come to terms with was that all of our lawyers in the Western society, in the United States, this is why they are so able to command such a high fee for their services, because this information is specialized. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, when you study this, you'll realize that lawyers never actually represent me or you. They are bound by law to only represent the court. They are bound by oath to only represent the bench. But at the same time, they are charging $150 per hour. And those of you who have hired lawyers, unless you have come to a different agreement with the lawyer for the fee that they're charging you for their service, for their specialized knowledge, unless you have come up with some type of other agreement, or you have been able to gather or have their service given to you by what they call pro bono, or perhaps for free, because maybe you have a case that is high profile and they just want to be a part of it as to get the needed promotion for their law firm, for their law agency, or what have you. Unless you have those things in place, you know that most lawyers charge at least $150 per hour. And pro bono is a word that has had its fame in the legal law sector of our country by those who've been able to receive pro bono service. Pro bono, spelled P-R-O-B-O-N-O. Pro bono is for the public good, denoting legal work undertaken without charge, especially for a client on low income. Some synonyms of pro bono is free, unpaid, unrewarded, unsalaried, free of charge, without charge, for nothing, at no cost, without payment, and as I mentioned before, for the common good. And that right there is from the Google dictionary. Pro bono. If we go according to what the lawyers and what the law says, then we would not have the wool pulled over our eyes in society about what is actually going on behind the veil. Lawyers know about this, and lawyers being citizens, I'm wondering, with you being citizens and part of the society which makes up our supposed alleged country, that was a Freudian slip by saying company, but you will find that United States, by the way, was incorporated in the year of 1871. So it wasn't really a slip. But lawyers being citizens like the rest of us and paying taxes and all that type of stuff, it really makes me wonder how at the same time are they able to be so deceitful, even if it's by protocol, or as many people like to say in our country, I'm just doing my job. I think that it is criminal to be so deceitful and to, on top of that, charge people outlandish sums of money for their service. I know many of them will not, if not most of them, will not feel like that is something that should be shared, or that's not something that should be considered, or what I'm saying is totally ridiculous because of the type of fee and lifestyle they're able to command at the behest of being deceitful about how things work. Not saying at the same time, though, that they are responsible for teaching us how things work. I'm just fed up and nauseated by them being able to look in the mirror, knowing that they are, well, at the very least, helping in a big way to uphold a reality, a system, a sewer system that is from its very inception and from its very practice and from the very oaths that are taken by judges and lawyers, etc., is built to make us subservient and to keep us dumbed down in an incredible way. And on that note, realize that towns are incorporated too. The town that you live in, big or small, that is also incorporated. And furthermore, that means that the President of the United States is not only selected by the Electoral College, which is in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, but the president is actually the president of a corporation. Right now, that means Mr. Barack Hussein Obama is the president of a corporation. And the vice president, Mr. Joseph Biden, is second in line within that corporate structure. So if you're like me and a bit inquisitive, you're probably wondering, so Who are the actual shareholders in the corporation? Well, after I come back from this little vibe session, I got something that I want to share with you. And, well, if nothing else, it's going to give you plenty of food for thought. My name is Otis Q. Pate, here on the Topkats Rebel Connection. Welcome to the Wild News Report. My name is Otis Q. Pate. Now, before I get started, the first thing I want to say is that this article that I'm sharing with you, I have to apologize right off the top because I've been wanting to share this article with the Topkats Pride for a long time. But it's a bit difficult to keep up with all of the things that I actually collect in my archives to share with you. But here we go. This article is about the USA. From my man Greg Loucks. And Greg Loucks, last name spelled Loucks, can be put into your favorite search engine, and you can find more research from him, as well as this article was something that was provided to the public some years ago by my other confidant, my other mentor in information, Mr. Jeff Rentz. Also, this information has been provided by many others, so check out this information in detail, and there's much more information just like this concerning our country that can be found on the web, which is truthful and something that you must know. Number one, the I.R.S. is not a U.S. government agency. It is an agency of the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. And all of this information can be found at the link that I will leave in the description box for you. And you can go and check all of this out yourself. These are actual laws and statutes that you can rest assured are on the books, are actual laws, are actual facts. Number one was the I.R.S. is not a U.S. government agency. It is an agency of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Number two, the IMF is an agency of the UN, the United Nations, and that's according to the Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, page 816. Number three, the United States has not had a treasury since 1921. And again, you can find all of this information at the link that I will leave you, which has other links that can take you to the actual statutes and laws. Check the description information box. Number four, The U.S. Treasury is now the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Number 5, the United States does not have any employees because there is no longer a United States. No more reorganizations. After 200 years of bankruptcy, it is finally over. Number 6, the FCC, CIA, FBI, NASA, and all of the other alphabet gangs were never part of the U.S. government, even though the U.S. government held stock in the agencies. Number 7, Social Security numbers are issued by the UN, the United Nations, through the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Number 7, Social Security numbers are issued by the United Nations through the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. The application for a Social Security number is the SS5 form. The Department of the Treasury issues the SS5 forms, not the Social Security Administration. The new SS forms do not state who publishes them, while the old form states they are Department of the Treasury. Number 8, there are no judicial courts in America and have not been since 1789. Judges do not enforce statutes and codes. Executive administrators enforce statutes and codes. Number 9, there have not been any judges in America since 1789. There have just been administrators. Number 10, according to GATT, which is an acronym for the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, you must have a Social Security number. Number 11, New York City is defined in federal regulations as the United Nations. Rudolph Giuliani stated on C-SPAN that New York City is the capital of the world, quote unquote. Number 12, Social Security is not insurance or a contract, nor is there a trust fund. Number 13, your Social Security check comes directly from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which is an agency of the United Nations. 14, you own no property. Slaves can't own property. Read carefully the deed to the property you think is yours. We are listed as a tenant. Number 15, the most powerful court in America is not the United States Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. Number 16, the King of England financially backed both sides of the American Revolutionary War. 17, you cannot use the United States Constitution to defend yourself because you are not a party to it. Number 18, America is a British colony. The United States is a corporation and not a landmass, and it has existed before the Revolutionary War, and British troops did not leave until 1796. Number 19, Britain is owned by the Vatican. 20, the Pope can abolish any law in the United States. Number 21, a 1040 tax form is for tribute paid to Britain. Number 22, the Pope claims to own the entire planet through the laws of conquest and discovery. Number 23, the Pope has ordered the genocide and enslavement of millions of people. 24. The Pope's laws are obligatory on everyone. Number 25. We are slaves and own absolutely nothing, not even what we think are our children. 26. Military dictator George Washington divided up the states, or also called the estates, E-S-T-A-T-E-S, into districts. Number 27. The people, quote unquote, does not include you and me. Number 28. It is not the duty of the police to protect you or me. Their job is to protect the corporation and arrest code breakers. Number 29. Everything in the United States, quote unquote, is up for sale. That means bridges, roads, water, schools, hospitals, prisons, airports, etc., etc., etc. And by the way, did anybody take time to check out who bought Klamath Lake? Number 30. We are human capital, according to the government and Executive Order 13037. Number 31. And finally, the UN, also known as the United Nations, has financed the operations of the United States government for over 50 years. U.S. Department of Treasury is part of the UN and now owns every man, woman, and child in America. And by the way, these documents and this information is not secret. It is not covert. It is not occult. They are a matter of public record. And if you have gone to the same public schools that I have in the United States, then you know that all of this has not been taught. Well, I should say at least 90 to 95% hasn't been taught. Even in most colleges, this is not taught. In the information description box will be a link to this site. And I would also like to encourage you to look yourself by putting this information into your favorite search engine, etc. My name is Otis Q. Pate, here for the Topkats Pride and the Topkats Rebel Connection. Thank you for joining me. Topkats Pride, bringing to you the unusual but factual and oftentimes ignored and controversial wild news, keeping you in the know while you're on the go.